built in public. Number one, it's where we get to kind of figure this out along the way together and have kind of unfiltered progress and sharing wins and failures and all that stuff. For people who decide to listen along to this, really what you can expect is the insights for growing on threads and insights for building community and ways that I guess like we're monetizing that or the roadmap to monetization as well. So Dr. Sam, if you want to just mention what you do for work, what you are doing on threads, and then what you're doing with Skool now as well.
Yes, of course, Lenny. So I'm an ENT, right? I'm an ear, nose, and throat and sleep doctor. And I see in my practice many patients who mention sleep problems later on. So they've waited for many years to get to the doctor, right? And sometimes we miss opportunities there. And we also know that many people have issues that are not exactly a medical disorder. Sometimes they are more related to habits, for example, right? And these patients don't go to the doctor either, right? Doctors also don't usually don't have the time to explain things. So I decided. So my journey started uh, writing content for social media. So, and for me, let's say video can be a little bit challenging. So I knew that if I started with social media that involved videos like Instagram, for example, I would probably procrastinate. So I started with short form content, so text, because I thought like worst case scenario, if this doesn't work well, at least I will improve my writing, my communication, which is always a great asset to have. So I started my journey writing on short form text, and I started to see a lot of people coming in, right? Because they wanted to know more about sleep, sleep habits. My topic is now being discussed a lot, but I think that many other topics in healthcare, it's always good to have someone to debunk things, debunk myths, to talk about things in a more scientific topics, but in an easier way. I think there's always room for this. And I noticed that many people were commenting on my posts, but there were, let's say, questions that were harder for me to to answer in a social media platform, right? Because sometimes they really require a back and forth of questions and answers, understanding a little bit more of their case. So that's why I thought of building a community, right? And when I saw your program that you were already in a community, well, I thought, okay, perfect, because I have the two worlds, right? I have the writing, uh, um, improving my writing, getting the feedback on my writing for social media. Plus, I get to see how you do a community. So I think that these two skills, let's say, making it interesting for people to join you, right? To join you in a journey, but also getting them entertained, engaged in it, are two, let's say, very important skills that we need today. And I would say that it's not even for building things online. It would be for anyone in their situation, in their jobs, even for doctors who are in their practice, for example, right? So my journey is right now I have around a little bit less than 12,000 followers on Threads and around 80 members inside Sleep School. That is my community. And we are just getting started.
And that's the part that blows my mind because just for context, Dr. Sam, like where were you with your following on threads and the Skool community in terms of number of members, let's say a month ago, roughly speaking?
So a month ago, I think I had around 4,000 followers and zero members at Sleep School. Yeah. So that's
And
quite a journey. So almost three times the number of followers and from 0 to 80 members.
yes, okay. And then for context, So where I'm at, it's like I've been doing the threads thing for, I think it's 20 months now, and started at 17 followers, and now it's at 13.2 thousand. Look, at this rate, Dr. Sam's going to overtake me overnight. And I
Which is
felt
your
like
point, right? To make your clients more successful than you.
100%, like that's what I had actually, I think in threads post now. So one of my thoughts the other day was like the real flex is when your clients get better results than you, because it's like that's what matters. And that's case in point. But like a year ago, and I think it's kind of a special day to do episode 1 of Built in Public, because it's basically a year ago today I started Saints College, which is the like free school that helps people grow on threads. That's got over 2,000 members now. And then Full Circle is the paid one that a few of us launched 2 months ago. And that has 38 members. And the kind of monthly recurring revenue of that at the moment is at just over about $1,000. So those are the metrics for us. And the kind of goal and the journey that I want to document for at least that stuff that I've mentioned is what we're calling as a team inside of Full Circle 25 and 25. And that is to reach the top 25 ranking on the Skool platform in the money category by the end of 2025. So top 25 by the end of 25, 25 and 25. And that's really what we're going to be talking about on my end. But then on Dr. Sam's, I suppose it's going to be, well, the reason why I mentioned that is because we discussed our like Full Circle goal when we had our call about a month ago, Dr. Sam. And at the time, do you remember what those goals were for you in terms of where you want your threads following to be and your sleep school to be by roughly this time next year?
Yeah, so we discussed that my threads followers would be around 40,000 by the end of this year. And around, I think, 10% of this to get to be members of the sleep school community. So around 4,000 as members. Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, Lenny.
Yeah.
But
No, that's right.
and start to think of a program that would be interesting enough for patients to, for people to follow and possibly monetize, right? Because it's also, let's say, time consuming for me on my end as it is for you creating your community. So, but the goal now is not to monetize, is to make it extremely valuable for people to want to join.
Mm. And that was something that, because it's been a recurring theme and across all of these onboarding calls, as we've had new members come into Full Circle, that it's either we emphasize it, or in this case, Dr. Sam, you insisted that you wanted to actually not monetize basically in that first year or so. And I think that's going to be, if you delay the ask, it will work out in your favor, because you're building up the goodwill and trust with the people that you care about. And just playing that long game, I think it really works in your favor eventually. But that's where most people kind of fall short, because they just want to monetize as soon as possible. And out of anyone that I know, if someone could monetize tomorrow, it's you. And you still decide to delay it and to kind of build it layer by layer. And that's really what we're doing here.
Maybe it's my mindset, Lenny, because that's the way that I was taught. We are taught in medicine, for example, we have to do all of our studies, residency, all of that, so that you can have a license and then you can work as a doctor, as for safety for your patient. So it could be my mindset as a doctor, but I also think of, let's say, as a client. So all the things that I'm a customer to today, when I see a very good product, I am the first one to be telling everyone, to be recommending. And I would like people to do this with my product, right? I would like people to be saying, "Oh my God, how come I didn't know this before, right? And people who spread to others, look, you have to come, you have to join this. It really helped me. So this is what I would say. I would not think of monetizing until I find a really good value, good reason for people to join. And I think that the more, like, regardless of the industry you're coming from, this is an excellent way for you to think of things, right? Because as you said, the more you delay, or the more you not just, let's say, delay, but the more you improve your product, uh, the you really don't have too much of to do much of an effort to announce it on social media, because many of the times your clients are already recommending you.
That was kind of my journey in a bit more of a rather a less clear way, but that's what I wanted to try and do. And it was pretty much like started Saints College in March last year and then launched Full Circle, the paid thing, 2 months ago. But before that, there was about 7 or so months of being on Thread. So it was a similar process. And now our goal is really the point of Built in Public is to like document the journey from you kind of being at the relative start of this online school journey specifically. Um, relative, like, how long have you been on Threads for? Like 6 months, bit longer?
No, I actually started in by the end of November, actually
Okay.
posting, because I opened an account on September. But if you look at it, by I think the second or third week of November is when I really started. So it's
Yeah.
been like almost around 4 months, 3 to 4 months.
And you and I have spoken like off the recording before in the past, just about how you're thinking long term with this. So relatively speaking, you're kind of at the start of this journey. And that's why I think it'd be really cool to share the lessons we learn along the way. And then in that sense, for me, I want to do the same because like you'll be eclipsing me on Threads very soon with the school thing. I'm just kind of one step ahead, and I hope to be able to like pass on those lessons to you. You can get the lessons without the scars, and we hopefully can give people who are interested in following along those insights as well.
Absolutely, Lenny. So I love working with people who are smarter than me, who have done different things than I have done.
Different.
And you have your, let's say, your journey working with doing mistakes, learning from mistakes. So whenever I see people who have done things, who have worked on things, and found their way, I think it's the best way for me to learn from.
Yep. Well, look, on that note, probably a good segue into what I was thinking of doing for kind of the bulk of our episode one is, and by the way, like this is part of the building in public thing. If you have suggestions, then we can go with the flow there. But what I had in mind was that we could list off a few rapid fire wins in terms of like I've got a win for Threads growth and school growth, and then I could ask you the same. This would be over the past week. And then we could move into basically the same format, but in terms of a challenge, in terms of Threads growth and school growth. I could share one, you could share one for each, and then we can workshop it, help each other out. Because, look, for me, like I might have a bit more experience on the school growth side of things, but you're a member in my paid community. So your perspective is always going to be very valuable. And then likewise for your sleep school, hopefully I can give you some tactical tips as well. So how does that sound? Happy to proceed like that. Any alternative
Yeah.
suggestions?
No, it's fine. We can work with, about the wins. I have way more challenges than wins. We can both at the moment. So I think the wins have been talking about more personal things on threads that have resonated a lot with my audience. And I guess for the school community, what I can say is the number of followers at the moment, right? So as it is like very early stage, I think that just having people on board is already something. But for now, I have more challenges than wins.
Yeah. Well, honestly, and I think it's just nice to still, it's a good mental process as well, because it forces you to reflect on, wait a second, there are still some wins going on here. And at least it's just reminding me that even though I feel like there's a lot I don't know, there's stuff that I'm doing right. And that's always worth capturing. I think there's like a gratitude practice in a way. And look, for me, for the Skool growth side of things, I'd say been really happy with the way that the free trials have been going, because that paired with introducing affiliates, I think it's a great incentive for the existing members inside Full Circle to try and get some of their other friends coming in from, say, the free community, say it's college or elsewhere. And then also pairing that with a free trial, and offering that for a limited number of spots to people in Saints College. It's kind of like lots of different factors working together to get more people to join Full Circle during that free trial. And happy with how that offer has worked so far. And I'll probably get to challenges in it later, but that's the Skool one. The Threads one, look, I got to say, I'm kind of more on the same page as you with challenges. I'm having a rough patch with Threads. I'm not going to lie. So I think I'll put the win of the Threads growth down to, I'm still being consistent with it, and I've always been good with that. But I'll leave it there. I think I've definitely got more challenges. So on that note, shall we get into those challenges? What's on
Yeah.
the top of your mind, Dr. Sam? Threads first, Skool first? What would you like to tackle?
Maybe we can go to Skool
Hmm.
because that's where I'm getting started. So that's the tough one for me now. So I would really like your pick your brain on this, Lenny, because let's say there are these people who have joined, so around um actually almost 90 members at the moment. Yeah, 92 in fact. 92 members I have at the moment. And I am struggling really to engage them, right? So I
Mm.
know this has been, I announced it a week ago. And I scheduled Q&A calls on Monday afternoon, because it would be, let's say, Monday noon, around noon in the US. And I should probably schedule um, some call over the weekend. So every 2 weeks, I was thinking on a Saturday, something like this, because it's impossible for me to do every weekend. And I'm not sure how many people would join. So it would be a test. So one day of the week and a weekend. I'm just shooting some ideas. Let me know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is good.
this is good.
Yep.
Okay. And
Actually, by the way, I just applied to join Sleep School because I figure that would probably be not only beneficial for me, given my sleep is not optimal, but also to see what's happening behind the scenes. So
thank you.
if you'd be willing to have me, please, because it helps me actually see what's happening
I
inside.
will think about you. Think about
You'll
your.
you'll sleep on it.
Yeah, I'll sleep on it. Yes. So yeah,
That's such a
I
bad
think
dad
that,
joke.
let's say, community calls is one thing for me to find the cadence. Let's say what works best. I don't even know which tool should I use for the community call, like which link or something like this, and how to record it. So I don't know if you have any tips on this and what
Yeah,
platform do you use.
perfect. Hey, well, that's a nice and easy tactical one to get started. And as usual, got a Notion page going. I'll send you that after our,
Okay.
our. But so the question is, like, basically, what kind of software could I be using to just host some calls inside of Skool?
Yes, and how to
Uh,
record it, how to upload
yep.
it, how to
Okay.
make any editing
Sure.
if needed.
Yep. All right. look, there's going to be two options. If you want to upload them to YouTube as well, then I would actually, okay. So bottom line, I would recommend just using Google Meet. If you just want a no-brainer option that's, it works, that's what I use. I think you have to have a paid subscription, maybe $15 thereabouts a month, but it allows you to have the recurring event happening inside your calendar, like your personal one, but then also the school calendar. And actually, I might show you what this looks like on the screen because demonstration is always going to be much clearer. So this is Saints College, and we've got this built in public session here. It's pretty meta because obviously that's the call we're on now. So how did I create that one inside the school calendar? I just go create event, call it whatever you want. In terms of the software you use to host the call, you can use Zoom or Meet. They're kind of natively built in, or you can add an external link, but I wouldn't worry about that. If we're going with Google Meet, then what you do is go over to your Google Calendar, create some kind of event that's recurring. And then you can just click this option that says add Google Meet video conferencing. Make it a repeated event based on whatever the your scheduling is and what's going to work for you. Once you've got that saved, then it's just a matter of copying these details, going to your school event, pasting them in. I think that was the full one, but you just want the link and you end up with the link in there. If it's a recurring thing, do that. You can toggle this button so that members get an automated reminder one day before. I always toggle that on. And then once you've filled out those details, hit add. And that's the event created with Google Meet. So that's the hosting the call part of the equation. But then in terms of the recording of the call and then, uploading, editing, all of that stuff, two options. And it kind of depends on what you would like to do with the recording. Would you prefer to upload it to YouTube so then it becomes a kind of lead or top of funnel content? So if you're talking about stuff in your call, then you could upload it as a YouTube video and it's kind of raising awareness about Sleep School. If you would like to do that, I'd suggest simply recording it with Google Meet, because as you can see in our call, there's a red record button. So it's built in and you can set up the call so that coming back to that event, the settings, I think they're fairly straightforward, but as you can see here, you've got video call options and you can just tick these three boxes so that once the meeting starts, the call will auto record. So that's nice and easy. And then you get an email once the call is finished. Sometimes it's an hour or two later if it's a big call, because the video recording will be quite long. And then you've got that recording to do what you want with. Would you want to upload it to YouTube? Because if not, and if you just want to upload it directly to Skool, there is a much easier option.
Okay. So what I was thinking, Lenny, and this might apply to my industry, right? I was not thinking of putting this on YouTube because I've seen this many people who talk about their medical history, right? So I don't know what it's going to be like in the calls. If it is as it is now in the messages, I don't think it's appropriate. Maybe in the future, or maybe other sessions that are more informative. But since I'm starting with Q&A,
True.
I'm not sure. For now, I think only in Skool.
Yeah. And that's what I did. And it was
Okay.
only after, yeah. And honestly, it was only if you absolutely knew that you wanted to have this repurposed for YouTube. But for the first, I think 6 or so months, that was how I ran the college classes inside of Saints
Mhm.
College. It was Q&A, and it was pretty relaxed. And it means that there's not much, well, really, you don't have to do any prep beforehand. And it can be a really great way to get to know the people inside your community. And if you were to take that route, then what you can do is actually use Loom. This would involve an extra software subscription. That's the caveat. Um, it just adds up. But so as you can see here, actually, very meta. So this
Do you
is
like Loom for, let's say, editing or other things, or why did you pick this one?
so great question. Once we end the call, this recording will be uploaded into Loom. And what this means is that I could go and click on it. Maybe I'll use, so this was a call, like an onboarding call we had with a member the other day. And as you can see, it's got an automated recap for you. And then if you wanted to edit it, you can, so you can auto remove silences and filler words. It's not such a big deal. Then you can also go and edit the transcript if you want. And if you think about editing a Word document, so if you highlight a bunch of text in a Word document, hit delete, obviously the text deletes. If you do that in Loom, when it loads, it will delete the corresponding portion of video that's attached to that text, if that makes sense.
No, can you say it again?
Yeah. So let's say there's this paragraph here, and I don't like that in the Loom video for whatever reason. So I
Okay.
mentioned that because if the purpose of it is like building trust, building authority, obviously I'm biased towards community. So I'll just explain to you what, if I don't want that paragraph in there and hit delete, that part of the video will also delete.
Okay. Okay. I see. Oh, so that's an easy way to edit the video.
Very easy. However, for you, because like we're all busy, and look, I'd be surprised if you wanted to spend time editing because it can be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah,
It can
yeah, I
be,
do. Yeah, it's just for like if needed. Yeah.
yeah, of course. And what I would do if I were you is literally just click copy link. Then, and this is why it would be Loom, because let's say you want to upload the video, it can be as simple as like new post, go to this little video button in the post, paste the Loom link. It wants to load for me. There we go. Oh, got to. And it's there. And that's the fastest way you can do it and the easiest. And this is only a recent feature because Loom didn't let you record meetings up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So what this
Uh-huh.
means is you can have the whole thing like recorded, edited, and then uploaded into your community within 5 minutes after the call ends. Now, obviously, if you want to then go and add a little summary, you could just literally copy and paste the timestamps. And that way people can just skip to the good parts or the parts that they want to know about. But that's what I'd recommend.
Okay. And what did you do in the first videos, let's say in the first calls that you had, you know, very few people that you were just getting started? How would you, what do you think that we can do?
To get people to come along or to like
Both.
what to actually do on the call.
Yes, both. To
Both.
get people
Okay.
to join
Yeah.
and then to stay in a minute.
Yes. All right. Let me have a look at, well, if you would be so kind, if you haven't accepted me into Sleep School yet, if you
Oh,
could please now,
yes, let me
it would
see.
be
One,
a true honor.
yes, you are inside.
Thank you very much.
And I have
Oh,
a lady called Yasmin who said that Lenny ruined her sleep schedule. So she also needs help.
but in the chat,
Yes. No, in the onboarding question.
No way. You know, that's Captain Yasmin.
So apparently she's dealing with someone who gives her, sleep issues.
That's so, you know, that's the Yasmin in our community.
Yeah.
Can you hear me,
So
Dr. Sam?
yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah. So this is one reason why I don't want to record and open this, because there are some people who might have disclosed medical information, which I've already asked not to do, let's say publicly, but this can happen.
Yep. So all right, well, let's break it down in terms of how you can get people to join. Look, the obvious thing is, and this was actually a pretty big one. So I noticed a pretty clear difference in when there is an event or some sort of call. Um, if I announce it beforehand in the community and hype it up, like build a bit of anticipation about it. It's like, imagine a teaser for a new movie that you're really excited for. It gives you these little snippets of some parts that are going to pique your interest in it. And the whole idea behind that is that it will get you to come and pay to watch the movie. That's what I would suggest you do inside of Sleep School between, look, anywhere from 24 to ideally 24 to 12 hours. But for me, it will be sometimes even as much as 1 hour before with fireworks. And that's just a way to get people interested, because if you don't really let them know about it, then obviously, you know, probably not going to come along.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I will do that. I already have 1 day notice by email, and
Yep.
we do this 1 hour before to let them know again. And
Yep.
what would be your go ahead? Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. So when you mention the 1 day by email, is that because you've got that auto reminder on?
Yes.
So I would suggest, and here's an example of something that I would do just to, because I've noticed a real difference. Um, my old kind of partner who was running Saints College with me last year, name's Bjorn, and we tested what the difference in show up rate was when we
Okay.
kind of do the same, like, kind of essentially when we wouldn't hype up the college class beforehand versus when we would. And we noticed probably 50% more people coming when we hyped up the class.
1 hour before.
Ideally, between 24 and 12, more notice is better, but any notice is better than none.
Okay.
Because what Skool does is it will automatically send that 24-hour email for you, but it doesn't really, like, it's not a well-written post. It's just like, this is what's happening. So let's have a look at this example, for instance. The headline is "Miss College Class in 74 minutes and you'll regret it forever." And then the lead threats, "This is not your average college class. Why? Because right after it ends, we're dropping something so game-changing that missing it would be the dumbest thing you do all week." And then talking about opportunities so rare, so unfairly good, only a handful of friends will, with the fastest reaction times, will get an insane deal, while everyone else, they'll be kicking themselves. Here's what I can tell you. Today's college class is a direct follow-up from last week's. We're delving into 5 algorithm mistakes. There will be an exclusive opportunity that will be unlocked, but only for a handful of people at the end. And then the fastest friends will walk away with the biggest deal I've ever offered. No exaggeration. If this isn't a good deal, so good you genuinely feel stupid saying no to, I give up. Done. Finito. So it doesn't need to be that kind of extensive, but hopefully that just shows the kind of vibe that you might want to incorporate to get more people to show up.
Okay. So you would, let's say, you would post this 1 or 2 hours before the meeting in the community, and have it sent by email too, something like this. Because sometimes you
Yeah.
can post this and then just set it
Send
to.
it as email as well.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good
that's
one.
what I would
Yeah.
do. And think about it like this. What's in it for me as a member when I see Q&A versus what's in it for me as a member when I see even just this headline, like miss today's call and you'll miss out on a better sleep tonight. Or I don't know, something like that. And I suppose what I'm getting at is if you have just one thing that you'd like to mention at the start, that it's not so much Q&A, but just a tip, a sleep tip, a piece of sleep knowledge that maybe it's a misconception. If you use that as the thing that gets people to come along, then you can transition into some Q&A afterwards. Then it's kind of best of both worlds because you can legitimately say, like, you know, you can legitimately tease a really valuable topic and then still provide the Q&A and that one-on-one kind of feedback for those who are around.
Okay. So that's what you would do as a content, right? You would, let's say for this meeting, you would give a, let's say some content, some knowledge about something, and then the Q&A.
In the call itself, yeah, because this is just coming from if you want to get more people to join the call, we found that when you give them a like specific reason that's more specific than just come to Q&A, then more people are likely to come because you see what I mean? It's like if I'm a member and you're telling me come to a Q&A call in an hour versus come to our call in an hour. I'm going to address the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to um, their evening routine. And then you might even include something kind of contrarian, like if you think being on your phone before bed is bad, wait until you see this. It's like, I'm interested in that. I want to come.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
And that could
I want
literally
to
be
know what
5
that
minutes.
is. Mm.
Like that could be a 5-minute thing that you talk about right at the very start. And at least you've got a few people there to kind of close that loop that you opened in the post that's teasing the call. And then you can just go into Q&A afterwards. Like, you know, any questions you guys and just free flow from there.
Okay, okay. Yes, that's a good way to start, Lenny, because I think that, let's say in the beginning, it's really hard for you to make it compelling, you know. Yeah.
Yep.
And any,
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
and what, um, and how do you close the meeting? Let's say, what do you think is the most efficient way for you to close the meeting?
Cool. In terms of like,
In terms of making people stay until the
yeah,
end, or let's say making it interesting for them to stay until the end.
okay. Oh, that's such a good question because I've done 50 college classes now. And I'd like to think that because it's just been one a week every week, and I don't think I've actually had a week off, or maybe one. But it's just getting a little bit better each time. Uh, that's what I'd like to think. The first one, it was really well, I was a load, so that wasn't going great. And then the next year as well, I was a load as well. And then some people started coming, and it was just like highlight of my week. And we were having a conversation, and then as more people started to come, then it becomes like you try to put a bit more effort into it. And point I'm getting at is at the start, don't worry about trying to get people to stay. Just focus on trying to get people to join
Okay.
because it's in the early days, it's just going to be like a nice and relaxed conversation. Honestly, what we're doing now, there's no real pressure. We're just talking about some challenges, trying to help each other out. And I'd keep it as simple as that. And then once you get to a natural kind of close in the conversation, let's say it's just one member who's joined the call, you talk about that little tip that you teased in your announcement post beforehand at the start. And then let's say like it's just you and this other member, you can, offer like, do you have any, while we're here, um, look, I just want to make this community as valuable as possible. What would you love to see inside? And that's really where you're going to get a lot of benefit for the direct feedback, because that's what makes a community great, is that you're able to just speak to the people that you want to serve. And
And
then,
how? Mhm, mhm.
and then you could just ask them like questions about sleep that I can help you with, because the other purpose of this call is Q&A. So fire away if you do. And if you get to the end and it's, look, it could be 20 minutes. What I would normally do is let the person know, look, there's no pressure to stay for the hour. I'm going to stay just in case others come along a bit later. And if you want to stay as well and just hang out, that's fine. But don't want to keep you if you want to go on with the rest of your day. And that's what I would do before the college classes became a bit more structured. And let's say that person hopped off the call. It's like 35 minutes until the hour ends. I'd just be doing my own thing, doing some work. And if someone comes on, have a chat. If they don't, so be it.
Uh-huh. Okay. And what would be the ways, Lenny, that to get this feedback, right? So you mentioned asking questions during the calls. But outside the calls, let's say in the chats, what were the best ways that you found to get feedback on your content or let's say format? Um, is it like,
Yeah.
yeah, you just ask questions, open questions? Do you send a link to a form for them to fill out?
Yep. I break this down into two different types of feedback. So you've got indirect and then direct. So indirect feedback would be, let's say, well, in your community, I was looking at it. Let's say we've got a post, and just looking at one of the recent ones, my slow internet. And the post has, so you got like, you would know what a lot of engagement is for an average post at this point, just based on if most of them tend to get 0 and one gets maybe 5 to 10, relatively speaking, that post has pretty good engagement. So I'm looking at one that you posted 2 days ago, Saturday sleep trivia. Did you know this about sleep? My patients love it when I explain this, so I'm sharing it with you. And it's like a mini vacation for your brain. While you rest, your brain is busy cleaning up waste products that build up during the day. This process is called the glymphatic system. Yeah, I love learning about that. Think of it as your brain's housekeeping crew. The better you sleep, the more efficient this cleanup process is. Here's another cool fact. And then it goes down. So that has got 4 likes now and a couple comments. Let's say that's your baseline, 4 likes and like 2 comments. It doesn't need to be scientific. It's just a rough vibe. But then you see one post and it has something like 10 to 15. That one's an outlier. And that's a form of indirect feedback that whatever that post is about, your members want more of. So that's indirect. You just, another form of indirect is, say, you see 2 members in the comments of one of your posts inside the community, and one of them says to the other, oh, yeah, I've been really struggling with that discipline of not going on my phone after I wake up first thing in the morning. Like, I don't know if that's really something that like Sleep School can help with, but I'll just figure it out. If that is something you wanted to address, and if you felt like it was within the scope of Sleep School, that comment right there to the other member is a form of indirect feedback that you might want to look into that. Does that aspect of feedback make sense before I go into the direct form?
Yeah, it does. Let's say for me, it's just like the social media posting, because that's how I see which are the trend topics. Yeah. But I was
Exactly.
thinking more of a like a direct um, questions that I could
Yeah.
ask, because let's say at the moment I really need to understand a little bit better of where I'm going to put more energy into things. So
Yeah.
what is the or what is the list of things that they find more valuable for them to stay? Um,
Sure.
would you have any tips? Or
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that was the indirect. And obviously it's valuable, but if you were to compare the indirect to direct, you're going to want the direct. And they are, look, I think there are honestly three ways that you can get direct feedback. One is through your calls, like we just spoke about, where like that's really one of the most powerful things because it's an opportunity if you kind of sell the call enough with a good little teaser post beforehand, it gives you an opportunity to speak to your members in a like casual environment and just ask them like, "Hey, I want to make this great for you. What can I do to do that?"
yeah,
And every time I've found that extremely valuable. So you've got the call, then you've got a post where you basically ask for that feedback. And the key principle here is make it as easy as possible for them to provide the feedback. Because, like, just assume that people don't want to take time to give it to you unless it's so easy to give it to you that it would be unreasonable for them not to. What do I mean by that? Honestly, use a poll. So inside the school, when you're about to post something, you can just click a poll button and I'll share my screen to show you what that looks like.
yes, please.
And let's say we're about to post, and then there's this little button here, add poll, some kind of headline. It doesn't need to be fancy, but like, you know, I'm I'm working on something for you, or I don't know if you'll hate this, like something like that. Get people's attention because obviously the headline in any sort of context, even in your own school, it's going to make a big difference. And then a little bit of context. Hey, like I want to, maybe you want to create like a little mini course. I'm thinking of making a mini course for you all, but finding it kind of tricky to figure out what it should be about. And so far, I've had the following thoughts. Maybe one of them is uh, how to optimize your sleep when you're a shift worker. Obviously, that one hits home for me. Or how to um, create the best evening routine that you can actually stick to, or how to, or maybe it's like a sleep protocol in terms of supplementation or like recommendations or whatever. And then all you need to do now, or rather, all I would need to do as a member is I see that post inside your community, and let's just say it is yikes, internet's working. Let's just say this is the post with the poll in it, and I'll just see three options here, and I can click on my favorite one. That's literally the easiest thing for me to do. And most people would do that. And that's a form of direct feedback in the community. So far, we've got the call, just directly asking. We've got the post directly asking through a different medium. And then the third one, and I think the final one off the top of my mind, is the direct message. Same thing, but just more personalized. Any
Okay.
three of those are going to be your best ways to get that direct feedback from people inside your community.
And you mentioned writing around 3 value posts per week, right? If I understood correctly from our last talk. And would you, so would you make this post to come up with content for the classroom? Is that what you're saying?
Ah, okay. So the question is, should I make one of the value posts a post that also teases the call? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of, okay, how am I going to start producing content and putting interesting things on the community? So one of them would be the calls. The other are these value posts uh, that create some momentum around 3 weeks, 3 times per week. And the other thing that you have inside your community is the classroom, right?
Yes.
That you have content there. How valuable do you think that is in the process? And how would you, let's say, recommend that I start working on that? Because it does take time, right?
The classroom stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is also actually, I'll put it to you. Honest opinion, because we're building in public here, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Please be brutally honest. Um, how's your experience in Full Circle been so far?
Yeah, I've used the classroom, the content. When I started, I read a lot of the content that
Just
you
the
put there.
community as a whole, though, not even the classroom, just your experience inside Full Circle and whether it's kind of giving you what you came for.
Okay. Look, I look at the posts that you publish almost every day. I keep up with the comments that people are mentioning regarding that specific post. I look at the Sunday post roast that you include there, and I in the classroom after I've done the classes, I look at the calendar content calendar basically. So yeah, I mean, you've made it clear for people to find things. Um, Maybe it's for me. I get a little bit confused because there are many of topics, discussion topics. So sometimes I don't know to which I would go to. This is something that I'm trying to think of in my case for people to, uh, because sleep is so broad, you can also get kind of lost. So I'm trying to manage to not to include too many because then people don't even know what's going on. In my case,
Is this inside the community?
yeah,
Yeah. The categories of posts.
yes, exactly.
But more so, not even looking at the specific features of the community, but just your experience as a whole inside a Full Circle. Like, what are the first words that come to mind?
Ah, okay. That's a very good one. I would say discipline because it's a you have to have a consistency. I mean, the calendar is there, 3 posts per day, period. And you also are consistent with the sessions. So there's sessions Q&A, there's the post roast, etc. So I think it would be about being consistent because I think that's what most people lack when they're
Mm.
writing content, right? It's not that they don't know or they don't have the ability to learn, but it's that they're not regular with writing. So I think it would be about discipline more than anything else, which
Or
is,
to
let's
ask the
say, what.
question
Mhm.
differently, like, has the experience been a net benefit for you, a net
Okay. Yes.
detriment? Has it been
Mhm.
positive? Like, have you felt like, that sense of community and you've got the results that you've been wanting to get as well? Has it kind of delivered on its promise? I guess that's the question
Uh-huh.
so far.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely, Lenny. Because I've really created a habit of writing and having keeping track on how much time I'm spending on writing, which was my first thing, because without this, I mean, there's no like hook that's gonna work if you don't work on writing. Yeah.
Okay. And like the reason I ask, besides always loving some validation, helps me sleep at night. I'm going to be making a lot of sleep jokes. So I apologize in advance. But the reason I ask is because we have, and it looks like what I'm about to say is completely ridiculous, but the classroom is not a priority for us at all. Like we don't have any actual courses in here, and except for this one, which is a viral threads course, and that we didn't even announce it or tell people about it. We just put it in there, and people can unlock it when they reach level 5. But it's a link to a Notion center that Hatham has created. But it's not strictly kind of like part of the full circle experience. It's really just a benefit. And I mention that because like here we've got the content calendar, but it's not a course. It's just where you get your post templates from. The circle seminars, these are just call recordings. And then circle sessions, this is literally just what monthly members can click on to upgrade to annual and get more kind of direct feedback. And the whole point of me like showing you this is to say that you don't like need much going on in the classroom. We've just
Uh-huh.
added stuff that is unlockable, and that's a different kind of topic, but they're not the courses that you might expect or think you actually need to create. And what I'm getting at here, Dr. Sam, is that throughout last year, I was doing some of those value posts inside of the community and in States College, and I was doing what I'd call a Monday mission, which was more like do these steps to get this outcome on threads. And then I was doing Tuesday tutorial, which was more of a like, let me show you how to do something cool on threads in a Loom. And those 2 posts each week got a lot of engagement. And honestly, I think those 2 things alone were huge levers to get people to show up each week because they were valuable and consistent. Now, neither of those things were like into or mainly showcased in the classroom. They were posts that I later just made available in the classroom. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to worry about having too much classroom stuff at this point. I would just focus on having some tactical, valuable posts inside the community to get that engagement going. And then once you can get that engagement ball rolling, that means that hopefully you're getting a bit more direct feedback from some of your members. And once you've got enough of that to know that, all right, let's say if I go and build some sort of course, by that point, the members have literally just told you, like, yeah, I'd love that. And you know that you're going to be creating a course because the the people that you're creating it for have told you they want it. But what you don't want to do right now is to go and create a course without having any of that feedback that like people are going to find it useful or actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is that making sense?
It does. It does. Yes. I'm gonna start working on the posts and having them regular um around the week. I'm also, let's say, struggling with my threads because let's say I received this feedback that I put a lot of content on threads. And
That's a
then how am I going to, let's say, differentiate my content here versus the open uh, social media? Yeah.
uh, how topical is that? That's some great timing, Dr. Sam, because the last is how long? I'd say that 2 or 3 hours prior to this, and then also over the last week, I've been thinking about a repurposing system for my own content and how I am going to essentially just get more out of what I'm doing, because right now that I'm not squeezing enough out of the various pieces of content I create each week for it to, like, it's just so much of a waste, really, because a lot of this stuff can and probably should be repurposed. So what do I mean by that? Let me share my screen because I've got a graph of this at the moment. Um, okay. This won't be like the system for you, and it's not my final version of it, but just to show you an example of what this could look like. So here is, like, we're on this call now, the built-in public call. And what I'll be doing afterwards is taking a look at the transcript and then essentially trying to extract some key insights from it that I can then share with people inside of Saints College. And that would be one of my value posts. I don't know, like, I haven't actually implemented the system yet. I might actually make this value post kind of repurposed from the post roast that we do each Sunday that you know about from Full Circle. But that's how I might take one piece of community content and turn it into another. But let's take a look at threads in Skool. So, for example, Tuesdays, we normally write a Teacher Tuesday post, a long form post on threads inside of Full Circle. What I've been doing for the last 3 months at least is I will repurpose my Teacher Tuesday post. That becomes the outline for what I talk about in college class on a Wednesday. And honestly,
Mhm.
that's probably what I would recommend for you. If you want to treat your Teacher Tuesday post as the framework or the outline for then a value post that you put inside of Sleep School, I see those two things lining up really nicely, because repetition is good. One, and then two, not everyone is going to see your content on threads.
Okay, so maybe the teacher value post could be on Wednesday right after the threads post on the same topic, but a
Yeah.
little bit more of detail or deeper.
Or because on threads, you're starting to get a feel for what, I guess, the vibes are like there. And then right now, maybe it's too early to kind of have an understanding of what the culture of Sleep School is, because it's still in its early days. But as you do that, like, engage and show up more often, you'll start to get a feel for what the culture is like in there, because it's just something that gets established as you grow it. And I mention that because you might be in Sleep School taking your Teach Tuesday post and then saying something like, um, let's say it's about the shift worker sleep tips. Then you could say something at the bottom and be like, okay, so this is for great for shift workers, but obviously you can apply these tips to, like, any kind of schedule, whether you're an early riser or a night owl, or literally just have a normal sleep routine from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then you could end it with a question: which one of these tips are you going to try tonight? And then that just gets people to engage. You could ask that same question on threads, but personally, I'm more inclined to ask a kind of engagement question inside a community post than on threads.
Yeah.
So you just see how that there's a little bit of a difference there
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the environment that the content's being posted in. But also, the long form posts, they've got a pretty standard structure that you've been learning. And honestly, it might be the case that you just want to make it even more condensed inside the value post in Skool, because if you can communicate the same stuff in, like, fewer words, people inside your community will generally appreciate that you've saved them time.
Can you say it again, Lenny?
Yeah. So let's say your teacher post from the Tuesday is 300 words. And then the one that you repurpose and then post it as a value post inside Sleep School the next day, maybe that's 150. Or vice versa. Maybe you have a listicle that you're not able to post a teacher one, a full long form post on Tuesday, but it's just a listicle that has the same kind of steps. Like, here are the 7 steps you should take to get a better night's sleep tonight. And you don't have time to write the full version. You just write those 7 list items. And then you might actually expand on those a little bit in the value post the next day. So it's a personal preference. I'm just saying that there'll be a little bit of a difference in the content based on where you post it.
Uh-huh. Yes, okay. I'll start working on this.
Another way to think about it is, I think people could tell if you were to literally just go and copy and paste your teacher post on Threads and put that as a post into Skool. Because there's just something about it that doesn't match the school environment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, you just want to make it kind of authentic to the platform you're posting it on.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Uh-huh. Absolutely.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think it's about, yeah, experimenting now.
That's what this whole journey is about, Dr. Sam.
All right.
And so, look, to wrap up, unless you have any further questions, anything else on your mind?
No, not for now, Lenny. I think it's now it's, get to work.
Pretty much. And on that note, what I think is a good way to end our episodes, like, what's an action step that you're going to take? Just one, and you might end up taking more, but at the very least, just one between now and the next episode, to address that one of the challenges that we've spoken about. What's one thing that comes to mind?
I think it's going to be regularity on this value posts inside the community, because it's quite a lot already to start publishing on Threads and then on Skool and having a different approach in it. So I think it's going to be start learning what is this approach going to be like, and then later on getting more sophisticated. But for now, it's just like getting started.
Yeah. And look, my action step is going to be the same, because I just kind of created that repurposing system, and I'll be posting a value post inside of Saints College in a few hours' time. So we can keep each other accountable there. If you're watching on YouTube, this was episode 1. And if you don't want to miss the second one, then you know what you should do. Like and subscribe. Thanks for the love heart reactions. And for those who are on the call live, Sam, Yasmin, you guys are the best. See you in episode 2 next week. Ciao.